Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. I realized when I got back from Japan that I actually haven't done my second Q&A video, which was way back when we had 1,000 subscribers. We're kind of close to 4,000 now, which is crazy, like super amazing crazy. Thank you so much. But yeah, I said that I had so many questions that I couldn't put them in one video, and I sort of decided to cut them up and do a second one. So the first one was more like questions about me, but then I also had a lot of questions about art stuff, so I was going to put that in a second video, and then I just never got around to doing it because I'm terrible. So today I thought we'd do some of that. There are still quite a few questions that I thought needed their own video separately, which I need to get around to do as well. Hopefully that won't take like another, I don't think it's been a year, but let's just assume I'm that terrible, another year to do. But yeah, let's get started on these. Okay, so first question is from Mr. Wood 1979. I'm just looking over at my computer screen if you're wondering why I'm glancing over there, that's what my questions are. He says, congratulations, because this was supposed to be for my 1,000 subscribers, thank you. I have a few questions. Did you go to an art college or university? When did you start taking your art seriously? Who inspires you? Who are your favourite artists? And what would you like to do that you haven't? Okay, so, did I go to art school? I did. I actually did two different art schools. I went to the VCA, which is the Victorian College of the Arts here in Melbourne. I did a fine arts drawing bachelor, which was 3 years, and I think I've said this before, maybe not on here, but definitely on my social medias. I don't think it was really worth it. I am of the belief that you don't actually need to go to an art school to do art. Like, I was already freelancing at 16 and I went to VCA when I was 18 or 19. 19? Yeah. So, I mean, I did learn things, but they weren't the things I was supposed to be learning. There's probably a story time involved in this. I'll allude to it. I was very naive when I first went to VCA. I didn't really understand that the art world could be really nasty, and that there were like factions in the art world, and I certainly didn't know which faction I was supposed to be in. This sounds like Divergent. And I was just like really believing that everybody was a lovely person. So yeah, like, one of the ways I like to explain why I didn't enjoy VCA was there was one time where we'd just been given a project just to do anything. We could do whatever we wanted, and I actually don't remember what I did. I think I had glandular fever at the time, so my brain wasn't really working. I don't remember much of that time period. I didn't even know I had glandular fever at the time, I just thought I was sick as hell. But I did something, and it had purple in it, that's all I remember. It had purple in it. I brought it in, and my tutors came to discuss it with me and critique it, which was a regular thing. And all I remember them saying is, well, it's really illustrative, isn't it? And I was like, okay, maybe. What is that bad? But to them, one of the teachers actually said illustrators are prostitutes of the art world, and I was like, cool, you know, that was their critique, it's illustrative. And I was like, okay, well, clearly you think that that's bad, but can you tell me why it's illustrative? Like, what can I do to improve this if it's not okay here? And they're like, well, it's illustrative because you've used purple. Okay. My bad, I didn't realize that purple was illustrative. Like, I had no idea. And the whole reason I'd used purple in that case was actually because I had a purple that was becoming out of date. Like, I'd had it for years and years and years, and I had a big pot of it, and I was like, I'll just use this up. Good lord. So that's a good way that I like to explain why I found VCA really frustrating. I also had a stalker that I had to get a restraining order against at VCA, and I like to sort of explain that coupled with the way that the teachers were there, really all I learned at VCA, which was something I needed, was to have a really thick skin. Like, I'd never really been properly critiqued before, especially for things that weren't really something you'd critique, like using purple. yeah, it was an interesting experience, and I definitely came out of the 3 years much more of a hard ass than I was when I went in. That was a really long answer, I'm so sorry. After that I did 2 years at NMIT, which is now called Melbourne Polytechnic, and I did an illustration course there that no longer exists because the government doesn't fund it, but it's now become like a 1-year course, and it's got some other things in it. I think it's also got like a visual arts part to it, which is great. And I sometimes go back and talk to the classes there, and they're always fantastic people, and I really enjoy doing it. And I'm so glad I did that course. And I guess the other reason why VCA was good was because one of the teachers there sort of went, I think she took pity on me and realised I really wasn't a fine artist, and I definitely was an illustrator, and she's like, there's this course I think you might enjoy more than this one, and she sort of pointed me in that direction, so I'm very grateful for that. Which is funny because she was one of the teachers I thought hated me the most too, so maybe not. I loved this course. You had access to teachers who were working in the business. You got to learn a bunch of different things across the board. They taught you how to run your own illustration business. We got told how to do invoicing and a little bit of... I wish we had more like taxes and stuff. That wasn't really something that was covered. It's something I sort of had to work out myself, and I'm still a bit on it. But that course was amazing, and we had a teacher called Warren who is just like one of Australia's best illustrators, and I'm not being biased, he is. And you could just say something to him like, here's this crappy printout that's pixelated from the internet, and I want to learn how to do this. And he'd be like, oh yeah, that's digital, or oh, that's oils, and like he'd be able to show you exactly how to do it. Or even suggest a way of doing it in the medium that you're better at, sort of thing, you know? Like that was just, I loved that. That course was fantastic. So I have suggested that to a few people who have asked, and some of them have done it and enjoyed it as well, so it's really great to hear. But overall, too long didn't read. I don't think you need to go to an art school. If anything, if you're going to be an illustrator and running your own business, maybe do like a short business course, or a short, like a TAFE course, because that second course I did was a TAFE. That was a diploma, not a bachelor. And I find, at least in Australia, diplomas and TAFE courses are a lot more hands-on, and places that do bachelors like VCA, there was a lot of theory. Like, thanks to VCA, I could write an essay on anything and make it into art, and there'd always be a reason like, oh, he had issues with his father, and yeah. There's always, if you put that in there, like if you give me a blank canvas, I can tell you about what the artist was thinking at the time. I have a bachelor in bullshitting. That's what I have. It's a bachelor in bullshitting and a degree in illustration. Yeah, I don't think you need to do a course to be an illustrator. No one's ever asked me for my bachelor to get a job. No one's ever asked me for my degree to get a job. They look at your folio. They look at how you work. They look at you as a person. Yeah. When did you start taking your art seriously? I don't know if I take my art seriously now. I don't take myself seriously. But I did start drawing a lot more when I was maybe 11. I got moved around as a kid a lot. I think I mentioned this in my other video, like I'd never been to a school for more than 3 years, and my way of making friends was to start drawing at recess, and people come up and like talk to me. So I guess like I wanted to get better at 11, like around 11 and 12, like that was when I was like, I'm actually gonna work on this and try and be a better artist and learn how to do things. And then when I was maybe 15 or 16, I'd started getting into portraiture, like, because I used to draw a lot of kind of like anime looking stuff because I loved Sailor Moon. And I started wanting to be able to do like realism, and so that's when I started putting my artwork on the internet, because I didn't really have anyone to critique me. I didn't actually know what critiquing was at the time, but pretty much everyone would just be like, oh yeah, that's really good. I was like, well, that doesn't help me improve. So I started putting it on the internet, on DeviantArt, I think it was. Yeah, on DeviantArt, and that's sort of when I realized that there's this whole community out there, and like people did this for a job, and I started getting like requests and people commissioning me. So at 16 I did my first proper like freelance commission, and I loved it so much. It was a Harry Potter one, I think. And yeah, it just kind of went from there. I realized that I'd kind of already fallen into it as a job, and I enjoyed it so much that I just wanted to make it my thing. Who inspires you? Who are your favorite artists? I have so many, and they seem to like rotate depending on my mood and what kind of thing I feel like drawing at the time. So I guess I'll put a list up here, and I'll pop all of their links down below. You should definitely check them out. I'm always finding new artists that I love. I think Instagram is a really good way of finding new artists. I especially follow a lot of accounts that are, I don't know what you call them, you know, the ones where they're like, hey, look at this artist, and they link to them. And if I like that work, then I'll go check out the rest of their work and usually follow them. What would you like to do that you haven't? I actually had a really good answer for this when you first asked the question, but I've actually done it now. I really wanted to go to Japan and just paint and get reference photos and find like little amazing nooks and crannies and that sort of thing, and it was so fun. It was so fun. I mean, if you watch the vlogs, you've seen that I had a good time, even if I was allergic to everything. And I'd love, like, I've got the bug for it now, and I really want to do that in Kyoto as well, because I just love the whole, like, it's an older looking city. There's like the geisha district, and there's a bunch of other beautiful things there that I'd love to also paint live. But also I want to do this everywhere now. Like, I want to do it here in Australia. I'd love to do it in like maybe France or Venice. I don't know, places that are very, very different to what I'm used to looking at here that I find beautiful and interesting. Yeah, I've really enjoyed doing that, and I think it'll help improve me as an artist. And I also feel like I really need to work on backgrounds and environments because I tend to avoid them when I can. So I feel like that's a good way to get me inspired to do that as well. Demora on Twitter asks, do you try to put yourself into your work to make your mark visible, or do you try to let the work stand on its own? Also, just like a note, you should check out her work. She's amazing. I'll pop her link down below as well. She's an awesome illustrator, and she streams on Twitch all the time, which is amazing. Do I try to put myself into my work? I don't think so. I mean, a lot of people have pointed out, especially when that meme went around Instagram, that a lot of the girls I draw do kind of look like me, particularly in like the nose and the cheekbones, but I tend to think that that's more because you draw what you know, and I see my face all the time, so I think that's why. I hope I'm not that vain. I don't really try to put myself into my work. I always complain that I don't think I have a style, but a lot of people think I do have a style, so I don't know. Like, people often say they know my work before they, like, when they see it, before they actually check to see who drew it, which is amazing, but it's not something I've done intentionally. I do sometimes think that I should add more colors, because then that's my, like, a lot of my thing. Like, I put a lot of colors into the shadows and stuff. But that's not always something I will do. Yeah, I guess the answer is no, not really. I try to just make sure the work's what the work should be, and I don't want me to get in the way of that. But I think somehow I still manage to do it without intentionally doing it. I hope that makes sense. I have a question from Sasha Fitzgerald, who actually, I answered part of this question in the last one, so let me just find the section that I'm answering this time. What kinds of things do you illustrate for work? And then she also said, do you have any convention tips for noobs, and what inspires your art? I'm pretty sure I answered what inspires your art in the last video. Convention tips for noobs will be answered in its own video. I've got a bunch of questions about conventions, and I filmed a convention video in April. I've been meaning to edit it, but as some of you know, my other dog Tuppence passed away a few months ago, and she's in that video, and I just I feel like I'm gonna cry if I edit it, so I'm just gonna leave that a little bit longer until I feel less fragile over it. What kinds of things do I illustrate for work? All sorts of things. At the moment, I'm working on a comic book for someone. It's his own personal comic book, which has been really interesting because I haven't done a full comic book before. I'm also working on some huge murals on like door-sized panels, 5 of them, for a game store in Sydney, and I was supposed to finish them in December last year, and it is now September 2017. And I feel like a terrible person. So many things have gotten in the way. I've been sick, so many times in the last year. Tuppence died and I just sort of went into a ball on the floor for a while. Yeah, just so many things have been getting in the way, and they've been so lovely to me about it. I'm so grateful that they understand that. I guess with these longer projects, and the comic book included, because he's been amazing too, the longer the project ends up being, the more your life gets in the way, whereas like a lot of my commissions are, you know, a couple of days to a week, and I'm not going to get like super sick in that time, hopefully, enough to prolong the project for a ridiculous amount of time. So there's those. I do a lot of portraiture. I've got a baby portrait coming up. I do a lot of character design. I've done some game concept stuff. All sorts of things. I'll pop up some pictures here so you guys can have a look. Window to the Moon said, "You're amazing, you're amazing. Where did you get your reference and anime dolls? How do you motivate yourself? Does your vision correspond to the final result? Who inspires your art and fashion? Love and peace for you." The dolls, I actually have a few, so I'm not sure which one she was asking about because I don't remember what I had at the time. Sorry. Squeaky chair. So I think she means these dolls here. They normally sit up on my shelf up there if you ever look at any of my other videos where you can see the shelf. These particular ones I bought, ooh, she just lost a hand, hang on. I bought these ones in Japan last year when I was there for my honeymoon at, I think it was a Tokyo Hands, in like their little art section. They do have them, I found them, the exact same ones, the same brand, this time in Hokkaido, which is like the biggest art shop in Tokyo. They're pretty useful. They're better than like your. She just doesn't want a hand. They're pretty useful. They're better than the you know, the old wooden mannequins that you see in art shops around here. They're much better than that. Their proportions are definitely anime or manga inspired, but that's fine. I feel like I'm accomplished enough that I can compensate for that if I need to. They're good in that you can, you know, put them into interesting poses that you can't use, you know, your traditional wooden dolls for, but they are a tad limiting, I've found. A bit more limiting than I'd want them to be. I also have a ball jointed doll, which you would have seen in videos as well. I love her. I think she's gorgeous. I haven't got any clothes for her. She's just naked all the time, and I'm missing the back of her head. I don't know where that is. I got her on eBay. She was quite expensive because she's a ball jointed doll. She's probably a cheaper option. I found a lot more expensive ones, especially if you want them with like hair or clothes or anything like that. Get that dust out of your cleavage. She's not particularly useful for really dynamic poses, but I actually really love her face. So I tend to use her a lot more if I want to do like a profile or like a slightly odd angle on a face that I'm not really comfortable drawing out of the top of my head. Yeah, I use it for other things too. Like there's certain parts, like I really like how her back's been done, like the muscles on her back, and I tend to use those sometimes. Her hands are gorgeous. I really like how her hands have been done. But obviously they're only in one position each, so it'll entirely depend on whether I want a hand in either of these positions. But I just like having her in the studio. And then I actually bought these ones super recently. It was actually maybe a month or so ago they arrived. You've probably seen these, or at least they're all over my Facebook, on Facebook. They're called Bodycoon dolls, or Bodycoon and Body-chan. I actually got these before I went to Japan. I assumed that I would see them a lot in Japan. I didn't see them once. I have obviously not used them yet because they're still in the boxes. I saw them so many times on Facebook and I was sort of considering getting them, and then I was like, fine, I'll freaking buy you, and then they were on sale. So I got them for cheap. They are quite small. But yeah, I figured I could do a video on them with you guys and maybe review them. So that's why they're still in their boxes and I haven't played with them yet. But they come with different hands, so you can have different poses. They've got some props. they've got like a stand, so if you want them in like a jumping pose or they're not touching the ground, you can do that, which is awesome. Again, they are the sort of anime manga shape, body shape, but I think they're going to be useful, particularly maybe for lighting and like muscle structure, maybe. Anyway, we'll leave that for another video. So I got these on a link on Facebook that online basically, it's just from the Bandai store, I think it was. Yeah. So I hope that helps that question. How do you motivate yourself? I seem to be self-motivated quite easily. If I don't draw for a week, I go crazy. So there's that kind of motivation. I might do a whole separate video on like artist block and at least what I do, or what you can do to sort of get out of artist block. There's quite a few things. I've mentioned a couple before on previous videos. I accidentally missed the last few questions. Does your vision correspond to the final result? Almost never, ever, ever. Sometimes it's kind of similar. A lot of the time it just sort of takes its own journey throughout the artwork and becomes something different at the end, which is the way I like it. And then I'm pretty sure I've answered who inspires your art and fashion in the last Q&A, so go check that out. I also think I might leave this one here. I struggled to keep the entire video under 45 minutes, and I thought you guys might get a little bit cranky with watching a whole 45-minute video. So I'm gonna cut this Q&A in two. So I guess there will be a part 3, seeing as this is part 2 Q&A, coming out very, very, very soon. I'm editing them both at the same time, so they should be coming out within a day of each other. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you want to see more of my artwork, you can find them at the links down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up so I know what to make more of. If you enjoyed this one and want to see more of my videos, check them out. If you like those, we'd love it if you'd subscribe. I'd love to have you here. And until next time, bye! I'm just going to be super annoying again and remind you that you can vote for me in Wacom's The Next Level People's Choice Prize. Every vote goes into the draw to win you a Wacom Bamboo folio. You can vote every single day and it closes on December 3rd, so that's a heap of votes that you can put in for your chance to win. I'm going to pop the link down below and you can choose if you want to vote or not. Good luck!